Motoko Omori. Yes, I know this is a little bit of a surprise. Even I'm surprised. I'm going to do a reaction to the solo work of the lead singer from Mrs. Green Apple, who's just dropped this new song. I was just recording an episode of the podcast Ears to the East. Some of you might saw we did an episode of that about Mrs. Green Apple quite recently. And then this has just come out an hour ago. Whilst we were recording, I saw this drop. It's already got 100,000 views. So I'm not exactly first to the party. But I just thought to myself, do you know what? I was saying for the longest time, I'm going to put off listening to his solo work until after I finish doing the track by track listen throughs to every single Mrs. Green Apple album. But then I thought, I just feel like listening to this. And there's probably going to be a lot of people saying, oh, Howard, this is not the best place to start your Motoko Omori journey. Well, probably true. But considering that we're already doing like the 12 album and we've done Progress and Variety, yeah, we've done all of the previous mini albums. We've gone a long way back in his career. So I think I'm in a safe place to just sit down and listen to a Motoko Omori song with you guys. I am checking his name when I say that to make sure that I pronounce it correctly. But yeah, because I'm more used to talking about Mrs. Green Apple than specifically about him. But of course, he is the driving force behind the creative decisions of Mrs. Green Apple, behind so much of the sound that has brought them to so much fame. And the interesting thing is that I've always said that my primary respect is for songwriters. I love good musicians. I love, great musical skill, great lyricism, and all of these things. But for me, someone who can write a song, that's the skill that everything else is downstream of. So I'm interested to hear his solo stuff, especially considering, given the amount of activity he does with Mrs. Green Apple, I'm going to assume that therefore if he's doing solo stuff, he's doing it specifically so he can do something that sounds different, something that he maybe wouldn't be able to do with Mrs. Green Apple. So maybe we get to hear a very different side of him here. Now, I'm still I got a lot of Mrs. Green Apple to listen to, so I'm still probably not going to go straight from this song into now just binging loads of Motoko Omori songs. But at some point I'll listen to more of his stuff. But this just came out. I want to listen to it. I want to share this moment with you guys, and that's what we're going to do. So this song, the name basically translates as event, kind of like happening, and that is reflected by the opening frame. I just noticed, is that a bottle? Is that a bottle up there on the rafters? If that falls, someone's going to get very injured. Anyway, it's only 3 minutes 15. Let's enjoy this. Let's enjoy this together. A little bit of Motoko Omori. Let's go. Okay, I was not expecting it to go rock. Oh, okay. I was not thinking we were going to be going this direction. That's a nice punchy riff. Let's go. It's a really interesting vocoder sound. This is not at all what I expected. I'm loving the rock energy, but also I like the little stop starts in the beats, that little off time drum fill we had there as well. It's got some of these signature little clever moments in there already. Nice key change. Pretty catchy too. Alright. Been pretty straightforward with a lot of nice details so far, but the bridge is where you get to add something. There's a lot of interesting things to talk about with this one, though, I'll tell you. It's my solo song. Again, nice use of the key change. What is with this street? getting a bit of a bittersweet symphony thing going on now. Oh, there we go, there we go. Okay, he's been learning the pop moves. Got to get your choreography down if you're going to have a solo career. That was really interesting. That was not at all what I expected. Mayoshi. Okay, Mayoshi, that's how you pronounce the word. All right, look, there are a few things I want to address with this. Now, this is definitely going to be something where it's going to be, in some ways, it's going to be an acquired taste because, we've got a lot of things like, really heavy use of like the, it's not just the vocoder, but there's also that auto-tuning going on in there. There's the pitch correction, which is obviously a stylistic choice. It's been deliberately implemented. It's a song that's going for a very kind of straight, down the middle kind of rock sound, but it's using some interesting techniques that we'll get on into in a minute to kind of go in a different direction. But most importantly, actually, how at the beginning I said that the one thing that I put most of all is songwriting and kind of vision for your song goes above all other aspects as a performer. What's really interesting here is that we all know from like Mrs. Green Apple and stuff that he can sing, but he's very deliberately gone for a style here where he's clearly gone for a style of production where he's thinking more about the sound he wants. He wants that slightly digital sound. He wants that kind of effect on the voice. He wants it to have that slightly unnatural feeling. And for me, a lot of the time if you get a singer who does a solo thing, then they're going to focus on just making their voice sound as good as possible because they're the star. Here, he's sacrificed, sounding like a great singer for instead focusing on going for a very stylistic choice for the sound of his voice. And that to me makes me, I respect that, but it also makes me very intrigued because it just shows how deliberate all of the creative decisions are on the song. Now, from one thing that I got to be honest, when I thought he was going to go in a different direction from Mrs. Green Apple, so in a way I was thinking it's going to maybe be something stripped down, maybe we're going to be looking at something like a ballad, I don't know, I'm being a bit stereotypical there, but it was interesting because this starts off in a very rock direction, very guitar heavy, the kind of thing that yes, Mrs. Green Apple could do. This could be a Mrs. Green Apple song if they wanted to, but I guess the big thing that separates this from Mrs. Green Apple is that obviously this is Mrs. Green Apple is now a 3-piece band, but they're continuing the legacy of a 5-piece band. So the songs still continue to have that kind of 5-piece band sound to this day. Whereas this is clearly supposed to feel a little bit more stripped back, to the point, kind of almost, this sounds like a song that could be done by a 3-piece band. It's real drums, bass, guitar. There's a bit of layering going on there, but nothing too much. It's very to the point. A lot of it is based on the rhythm. We've got a punchy sort of rhythm that, again, it has his signature thing of the da-da-da, sort of the stop, start again. He loves those little jumping stop-start moments in his songs. It's something that he does do a lot, and which I think is also interesting to break up songs that get too strummy. So it's not just strum. There's a little bit of something in there that gives you a little bit of a heartbeat. I like that fact that he does that in there. A lot of the drum lines as well. It's kind of hard to pick up the exact moments, but there's little parts where the drum line goes off of just being a sort of, kind of staggers a little bit and then comes back. These little things where, again, he's focusing very clearly on the rhythm. In a recent reaction I actually did, someone said, I think it was to the song Number 7 from the album 12, I pointed out the focus very much on the bass, and I think someone told me in the comments that he had primarily started as a bass guitarist. I think that was his first instrument, according to them. And again, that would indicate why he's got such a love for working with the rhythm section. So I think it was around here you could hear a bit of this coming in. How the drums just break onto a bit, and it's really kind of cool and interesting how that worked. So I kind of like all of that. I think that all works really well. I have to say then, with all of those things taken into consideration, what is my final feeling about this? I think that as a straight shooting rock song, this is catchy, enjoyable, it works, it definitely gets your foot tapping, gets your head banging. I have to admit that although I do admire the decision that went behind using the auto-tune, and I actually think it's kind of a brave and cool choice to go for, I think in the end analysis, once you get past that, I'm not 100% sure if I think it really added anything. I'm I'm willing to accept that auto tune is increasingly used for purely artistic purposes, but and so maybe I just have a natural bias towards thinking it's unnatural sounding, but it was maybe a bit too much in this for me. I think he had enough going on with that really interesting vocoder sound. Because when you hear the very first time his voice comes in, it's kind of this monotone thing. But even before the auto tune's clear, you can really hear this kind of interesting like phasing sound. It's kind of hard to explain if you don't already know how it works. But just listen to the tone. It's got this kind of interesting phasing sound over it. Before he's even got into like having too many notes, you can already hear that. And I think that sound on its own was enough to give it an individual vibe. I think that the auto-tune became a little bit distractingly heavy towards the end. I think there was too much to the point where it was a little bit too much for me, if I'm honest with you. But yeah, slight negative for me, but overall, as I say, I respect the decision to do it. I can kind of imagine the decision that went into that, and I respect that. And I think it's not that he can't sing; it's that he's decided to do it as an aesthetic choice. It didn't really work for me so much. It basically. Yeah, the song still works, it still functions, but there are little bits where it gets a little bit too unnatural. You get those quick wavering parts, and those are the little bits where maybe it brings it down for me. So overall, I would say this is a very strong song, which I think it shows a strong creative ethos and mindset, even in the moments where I think that there are creative decisions that I wouldn't necessarily agree with. I do also think that it's very effective in the video. The video is a ton of fun. I'm imagining that this street. I'm imagining this is kind of like sometimes when you see Japanese music videos filmed on streets, it'll usually be at some kind of special place. Like maybe it's a studio, but for example, there was one street which I think was at one of the theme parks. It was like a fake European street at some theme park, and it might have been Universal Studios or Disney or something, where it was used for a bunch of music videos. And there was a period, maybe I think around about 2013, 2014, where loads of Japanese pop music videos seemed to be filmed on this same street that was given this sort of fake old world European vibe. And I feel like this is probably something similar. I'm wondering whether this is like some kind of movie set or like something where it's not really what it appears to be. But I just love the way they've done this. And yeah, nice shine to it. I don't know whether whether it actually rained before they filmed or whether they like sprayed the water, but the whole thing's got this really cool, fun vibe. Really enjoy it. Really comes well together. Nearly gets hit in the face by a plastic bag. This was cool. And yeah, I just generally thought the whole vibe of this was really, really effective. Maybe not my favourite thing from him. Maybe a couple of creative decisions that, like I say, weren't the ones that I would necessarily have gone for if I was choosing. But overall, fun, effective, powerful, and yeah, I will check out more of his music. But for now, I'm going to leave this one with you guys. So get in the comments, tell me what you think. Don't worry, we'll continue. I've already uploaded the next couple of Mrs. Green Apple reactions. They're coming in the next few days. They're scheduled to release. So don't worry, I'm still on those until I hopefully see you in Japan for those or whatever. Until then, for now, ciao, ciao.